There was a boy who was probably the youngest of the family, told to do whatever the family was instructing him to do. This young boy took care of his father's sheep. This young boy was probably the minor, the one out of 8, and was told to go out and shovel sheep's dung, which means the sheep's poo-poo. He was told to take care of his father's sheep while his brothers enjoyed life, and yes, even got to go fight a war and defend their country. He was obscured. He was unpopular. He probably was the boy that nobody was allowed to play with. He wasn't allowed to go out. He probably was forgotten about. But let me tell you today about this boy. The boy who knew obscurity. The boy who knew what it was to be in the dark when everybody was enjoying the light. This boy was David. David is known in the Bible as a man who's famous. Probably by far, he was very well known, and he was a king. Yes, King David. You know him as King David. You know him as a psalmist, a worshiper. You know him as a singer, poet. You know him as a husband. You know him as a wife. But when he was small, when he was younger, no one cared for him. No one spoke of David. He was the unsung hero, the unpopular young man, the nerd of the class. Nobody cared for David until God put his eyes on him. Yeah, that's what I want to talk to you today as I motivate you this morning. It's when God puts his eye on you that you will rise to the occasion. God knows what he's doing. God knows what he's doing when no one has their eye on you. You just have to remain faithful. We talk about David today because we understand that David is a key example of what you do in obscurity is preparing you for popularity. I'll say that again. What you do in obscurity is preparing you for popularity. Well, what do you mean by this, Pastor Pablo? Well, David was known as a key figure. To this day, he's known as a key figure in Israel. Perhaps one of the greatest kings that Israel has ever had. Scripture says that he is one of the best, him and his son Solomon. His throne will endure forever. Not only that, but Jesus Christ himself is a descendant of King David. When you read the stories of King David, you'll find them in 1st and 2nd of Kings, and you'll find some in Chronicles. You'll see that this man was a man who came out of the nowhere, who rose from the ashes. You know, I'm fascinated by stories of how they discovered probably someone like Justin Bieber, who is a pop icon in American culture. When they discovered him, it was through a YouTube video. How many people have been discovered when they were no one, when they didn't have all the millions and they didn't have all the followers, but out of nowhere, one day they found them. They saw a good demo. They saw a good song. They saw a good track of them singing, and all of a sudden they just rose to stardom. Well, listen, in life, you just don't rise to stardom. It's what you do when no one is looking. It's what you do when no one is seeing you. Today, I want to talk to you about when you're faithful in the little. You see, as I opened up in this morning motivator, you'll notice that this young man was taking care of his father's sheep. This young man was the youngest out of probably 7 or 8, and no one talked about him. At one point, they were going to elect a new king in Israel, in the country, in the nation of Israel, and they were going to elect a new king. And the Lord sends the prophet Samuel to the house of Jesse, which is David's father. And when he was going to elect the king or select the new king led by the Spirit of God, you know, Samuel began to look at all of Jesse's kids. And he saw Eliab and he saw all his other brothers. And he says, surely this guy fits the bill. Surely this guy looks like he's famous. Surely these kids, one of these boys will be the next king of Israel. But the Lord had to quickly correct the man of God, just like he has to do to many today. He had to quickly check him and say, listen, Samuel, stop looking at the outer appearance of people, for I, the Lord, search the hearts. I look at what's inside the people. I look at what nobody is looking. I look at what nobody is seeing. Come on. And you have to understand that is how God operates. He says, when you're faithful in the little, what does little mean? And we'll get into that scripture in a minute. When you're faithful in the little, the Lord tells us that he takes what you do when no one is looking. That's called integrity. Listen, if you're faithful and you're studying for that test, if you're faithful and you're clocking into work on time, and you're doing the behind the scenes work in the ministry when no one is seeing you, God is seeing you. And there was David hustling and bustling and being faithful to his daddy Jesse. Even the Bible doesn't talk much about his mother, but when I can tell you this much, that he wasn't the best liked in the family. I can tell you that his brothers didn't think well of him, but he was there being faithful, taking care of daddy's sheep. And the Lord saw that from afar, and when the Lord was ready to promote the next king, he said, I have found faithfulness in David, because David was doing something in obscurity that prepared him for his popularity. See, it's what you do when no one is looking. See, whatever's going on in your life, don't stop working hard now. You may not get the praises of your pastor. You may not get the praises of the governor and the mayor. You may not get the accolades of everybody around you, but there is someone in heaven that is watching you. And when the time comes for your promotion comes from the Lord who created the heavens and the earth. Come on and read with me today in Luke chapter 16, verse 10. These were Jesus's words. For this morning, I want to encourage you and tell you, Jesus says, whoever is faithful in small matters will be faithful in large ones. Whoever is dishonest in small matters will be dishonest in large ones. He is saying your public blessing is determined by your private integrity. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. Now listen, we know that David was famous. We know that David was well known. We know that he was beloved, but that didn't just happen overnight. That happened during the night. Come on, somebody. That happened overnight. That was a series of events that led him up to his promotions. You continue to be faithful at what you do. You continue to show up to work. You continue to serve your pastor. You continue to serve your community, even if you're not getting the hand claps, even if you're not getting the invitation to the parties and the ballrooms, even if you're the one running lunch to your brothers like David was. One way or another, God is going to present you with a situation that whatever you did at night, whatever you did when no one was looking, prepared you for the next level that God has for you. When David was protecting those sheep from wolves and bears and lions he was fighting, God was teaching him there how to fight a Goliath. Hello? Whatever you're going through in private and nobody is looking and you feel like nobody cares, God is preparing you for the bigger giants in life. All you need to do is remain faithful. Remain faithful at what you do. It's okay. You're not going to get praises when you're alone at the night. As a matter of fact, I believe that is where the Psalms 23 was born. Psalms 23 was born when all of a sudden David said, the Lord is my shepherd. As I take care of these sheep, my father's sheep, the Lord provides for me and everything. I believe that the Lord said or gave the prophetic psalm to David when he said, although my mother and my father may abandon me, the Lord will pick me up with everything. I'm sure that there were moments in David's obscurity, in David's darkness, in David's wilderness moments while he was fighting lions and bears that he felt like, why does my mom and my dad have me doing this? Why can't my brothers do this? I know you feel like that too. Why does my pastor pick on me? Why has he called me to do this? Why does my family have me doing this? Why does my employer think that I'm fit to do this? You just need to remain faithful and trust God like David did in moments of obscurity. I want you to know that you will rise when the time is due. Be faithful in the little. Your private life matters much because it will be awesome when you get to your public life. life. So today I want to leave you with this morning motivator. Stay faithful in the little.